Today we're going to help our 2018 Mustang GT breathe even easier with help from Roush Performance. This Roush Cold Air Intake kit is going to be a direct replacement for the factory intake kit on your 2018 Mustang GT. It features a custom designed seal box with a clear top with an extension that works with the factory ram air system and keeps your filter sealed from engine heat. It comes with a reusable washable filter, does not have to be oiled, along with a mass air meter and an inlet tube. Now the meter that's included is designed to work without a tune, but there's an insert you can remove for custom tuning and more power. For this installation, you need a 1/4-inch ratchet, 7mm socket, 8mm socket, 10mm socket, T20 Torx bit, T30 Torx bit, short extension, 10mm wrench, flathead screwdriver, pliers, scissors, marker, some sort of a cutting instrument, and safety glasses. We'll begin the installation by removing the intake cover, then we can remove the factory cold air intake. Remove the cover, you're going to pop these little caps off here. The flathead screwdriver makes it easy. With the caps off, you're going to remove the 10mm nut on each side. Lift up to remove it. While you have your 10mm handy, go over to the fender apron here and remove this bolt for the airbox. Next, we're going to disconnect everything from the cold air intake. This line here, these two here, and our mass air sensor. To remove, just simply push in. This one, there's a little gray tab you're going to lift up on, kind of underneath. This you're going to just squeeze the clamp. The mass air sensor is this little red tab underneath. Pull the tab out. Now come off. Make sure you don't forget to remove this little Christmas tree clip from the airbox. Then go back over here, loosen up the clamp at the throttle body. The airbox can come out as one entire assembly. Before you do that though, lift up over here on this imposer, separate it from the airbox. Now for the fun part. Part of the installation of the Roush is going to require removal of the sound imposer tube. Now the tube itself is pretty easy to get to, but back here on the firewall there's a nut that holds it to a stud. Basically you have to reach in there, easiest from the front of the engine, use a 10mm wrench, remove the nut, and remove this imposer tube. Alright, the nut off, just simply pop some of these clips, and you can remove it. With this imposer removed, you'll be left with this hole in your firewall. Roush includes a plug, basically the same way you went in there before. To remove it, push the plug in place, and block the hole. Now there's a few pieces we're going to need from our factory cold air intake. We're going to start with the mass air sensor. Remove this rubber grommet here. Then remove this grommet with the metal insert. Just push the metal insert up through. And remove the grommet. And the last one is underneath. Simply squeeze this and remove that and put your factory cold air kit aside. All right, so the pieces we removed, we're now going to install in our Roush intake. The box is just about ready to go back in the car. Last thing you do is grab this extension piece here, which works with the factory ram air system, lock that in place, and we're ready to put it in the car. Now before you put the box in, the mass air harness, make sure it's out of the way, but this harness has to go a little further than before. So you want to remove it from the factory clip right here by sliding it off, and then also this one down here. That'll give us a lot more length, so it should reach. We'll take the box, I'm going to slide it down into place. Maybe a little bit of a tight fit through here. box in place. We're going to reinstall the factory hardware here. Box installed, grab the filter, the mass air housing, and put these together here. What you want to do, this metal piece here, it's going to go 90 degrees from where the sensor is going to go. You want to make sure that's facing down. This arrow here will face down when it's installed. Make sure though when that's there, sometimes it's hard to turn. Make sure the insert is lined up. Then you can tighten this down. The filter is sampled. Grab your mass air sensor. It's only going to fit one direction. Line up the original screws and then tighten them down. Very carefully now, take this assembly, put the mass air sensor through the opening here. And line it up and install its applied bolts. All right, if that's finished up, we can install the inlet pipe next. Now we can reconnect everything. And the last step is the cover. The last step of the installation is optional. If you want to, you can leave your engine cover off, but if you want to use it, you do have to trim it. Now at the bottom of our page, we have instructions from the manufacturer that include this template. What you're going to do is basically just lay this here, line up all the lines, and then mark where we have to cut. Now once you have it marked, before you cut, you want to turn it over and just remove this from the back. It'll simply tear off because it's going to get in the way when you go to cut it. Okay, with the trim down, now we can reinstall our engine cover. Cover installed, we can reinstall the nuts. Put a little dab of grease inside your socket. It'll make the nuts stick to it. Makes it a lot easier to line these up. And your installation is finished. With its large reusable filter and much smoother inlet, the Roush can get more air to our engine. It looks a lot better under the hood as well. As far as the installation goes, figure about an hour or so, you'll be back on the road in no time.